इन इंडिया। अब इससे पहले कि मैं बताऊं कि चैप्टर क्या बोलता है, पहली बात तो ये कि नेशनलिज्म क्या होता है। व्हाट डू यू थिंक इज नेशनलिज्म? मैं बताती हूँ। नेशनलिज्म इज एन इमोशन, नेशनलिज्म इज अ फीलिंग। एक इमोशन है, जैसे आप हंसते हो, खाते हो, पीते हो, खुश रहते हो, वैसे ही नेशनलिज्म, देशभक्ति की भावना एक फीलिंग होती है, इमोशन होती है। हाँ, इमेजिन अ सिचुएशन बच्चा व्हेन देयर वाज नो नेशनलिज्म। कहीं ना कहीं से तो नेशनलिज्म आया होगा ना। और हमारी कंट्री में, इन इंडिया, दैट फीलिंग ऑफ टुगेदरनेस, that feeling of identity, that feeling to love our motherland came from hating Britishers. Can you imagine? होता है ना क्लासरूम में, if two people hate the same child, I'm just being realistic here, it happens, it used to happen in my classroom. So when two students hate the same person, they become friends, right? Similarly, because Indians started realizing that they are being harassed and, being turmoiled by the same kind of people, Britishers, they all came together and they all gave birth to the feeling of nationalism. ऐसा क्या हुआ? ये तो हमें पता है that Britishers ruled our country for many many years, hundreds of years. लेकिन अब तो, you know what, 1914 to 1918, the first world war that was going on, उसमें इंडिया ने पार्ट नहीं लिया था. इंडिया डिड नॉट पार्टिसिपेट इन इट, बट ब्रिटेन डिड पार्टिसिपेट इन इट. ब्रिटेन ने जरूर पार्ट लिया था. अब भैया देखो, ब्रिटेन क्या कर रहा था, इंडिया का सारे रिसोर्सेज जो है निचोड़ के ले जाता था ब्रिटेन, राइट? Similarly, when Britain participated in the First World War, it, out of the blue, expanded the expenditure on India's war. मतलब इंडिया के जो war का expenditure था वो बढ़ा दिया. नई तरीके की इकोनॉमिक और पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन आने वाली थी. इनकम टैक्स वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. इससे पहले इनकम टैक्स नहीं था इंडिया में. इनकम टैक्स, इफ यू आर अर्निंग यू हैव टू पे द टैक्स, एंड टैक्स टू हु? टू ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, राइट? ऑल्सो कस्टम ड्यूटी. कस्टम ड्यूटीज क्या होता है बच्चा पार्टी? Whatever comes to your country, whatever import comes to your country, you put a duty on it, you put a tax on it. So custom duties was increased, prices definitely increased. और तो और आर्मी में पोस्ट रिक्रूटमेंट करा रही थी ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट. पोस्ट रिक्रूटमेंट व्हाई? बिकॉज नो इंडियन वांटेड टू गो एंड फाइट फॉर द ब्रिटेन एंड डाई इन द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर. बट ब्रिटेन नीडेड सोल्जर्स. तो ये सोल्जर्स कहाँ से आएंगे? इंडिया से लोगों को पोस्ट रिक्रूटमेंट हो रहा था भाई. तो ये तो हो गया इम्पैक्ट ऑफ फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर ऑन इंडिया. इसके साथ साथ इंडिया को और भी बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स का सामना करना पड़ रहा था. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, टू alternate years, 1918 to 19 and 1920 to 21, इंडिया में क्रॉप्स भी फेल हो गए. सोचो, now a country which is dealing with Britishers, unjust Britishers, a country which is dealing with forced recruitment, a country which is dealing with income tax. Now, on the top of it, the cherry on the cake was acute shortage of the food. अब खाने के लिए खाना भी नहीं है. इसके साथ साथ an influenza. Coronavirus is nothing. Look at this influenza. 120 to 130 lakh people died in India with this influenza. कब आया था ये? Somewhere around the First World War के पीरियड में. तो इन्फ्लुएंजा है, acute food of shortage है, forced army recruitment है, so on and so forth. Now what will people want? People will want a magician. अब लोगों को लग रहा था भाई खुद से तो हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा. We are not able to solve our problems ourselves. We need a magician in the picture. Magician आया.
Nationalism in India. As you have seen, modern nationalism in Europe came to be associated with the formation of nation states. It also meant a change in people's understanding of who they were and what defined their identity and sense of belonging. New symbols and icons, new songs and ideas forged new links and redefined the boundaries of communities. In most countries, the making of this new national identity was a long process. How did this consciousness emerge in India? In India, and as in many other colonies, the growth of modern nationalism is intimately connected to the anti colonial movement. People began discovering their unity in the process of their struggle with colonialism. The sense of being oppressed under colonialism provided a shared bond that tied many different groups together. But each class and group felt the effects of colonialism differently. Their experiences were varied, and their notions of freedom were not always the same. The Congress under Mahatma Gandhi tried to forge these groups together within one movement, but the unity did not emerge without conflict. In an earlier textbook, you have read about the growth of nationalism in India up to the first decade of the 20th century. In this chapter, we will pick up the story from the 1920s and study the non cooperation and civil disobedience movement. We will explore how Congress sought to develop the nationalism movement, how different social groups participated in the movement, and how nationalism captured the imagination of people. Figure 1, 6th April 1919. Mass processions on the streets became a common feature during the national movement. Unit 1, the First World War, Khilafat and Non Cooperation. In the years after 1919, we see the national movement spreading to new areas, incorporating new social groups, and developing new modes of struggle. How do we understand these developments? What implications did they have? First of all, the war created a new economic and political situation. It led to a huge increase in defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and income tax introduced. Through the war years, prices increased, doubling between 1913 and 1918, leading to extreme hardship for the common people. Villages were called upon to supply soldiers, and forced recruitment in rural areas caused widespread anger. Then in 1918, 1919, and 1920, 1921, crops failed in many parts of India, resulting in acute shortages of food. This was accompanied by an influenza epidemic. According to the census of 1921, 12 to 13 million people perished as a result of famines and the epidemic. New words: forced recruitment, a process by which the colonial state forced people to join the army. People hoped that their hardships would end after the war was over, but that did not happen. At this stage, a new leader appeared and suggested a new mode of struggle.